Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, as you all know by now, I'm passionate about sharing how technology is transforming our lives, business, and indeed world. And over the last few days alone, I've heard firsthand about real human stories and how technology is doing all of those things and more in everywhere from Vietnam to Tel Aviv. But today, I want to hear a story from Germany. And I recently came across a company called Getsafe, who are promising to reinvent insurance. But when I inspected a little closer, I quickly found that the company was based in Heidelberg, Germany, and is using technology to help people identify, organise and protect what they care most about in life, all within just a few clicks. So essentially, Getsafe is aiming to help people buy and manage their insurance policies on their smartphone. It sounds to me like we've got a bit of a story on our hands. So I've got my roving reporter hat on and trench coat. So wherever you're listening to me in the world and whatever it is you're doing, your body might have to be in that physical location staring at a spreadsheet. But let me take your ears all the way to Germany so we can learn more about the insure tech story behind Getsafe and talk with Getsafe CTO, Marius Blasing. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Neil. My name is Marius Blasing. I'm co-founder and CTO at Getsafe. Personally, I'm coming from a physics background, but I was a startup enthusiast early on, and I'm pretty much passionate around everything around startups, everything digital, everything data-driven also, which maybe is the connection back to my background. So naturally, founding an insurtech company combines my two passions because you can do technology, you can do data, and you can combine it in the very data-driven product, which is insurance.
So just to set the scene, can you tell me a little more about how at Getsafe you're on this mission to redefine insurance with digital products? Because I think it's fascinating what you're doing, but there's going to be a lot of people listening that are just hearing about Getsafe for the very first time.
You're absolutely right. So we really want to reinvent insurance as we know it today. We are based in the lovely city of Heidelberg in Germany. Known for a long insurance industry, a very strong insurance company is coming from Germany, but of course also a very strong technology base here. And with Getsafe, we really want to apply technology and artificial intelligence, machine learning to make insurance better. So we want to help people to identify, organize and protect what they care most about in life, because this is ultimately what everything around insurance is about, right? So we want to make it much easier so you can get your coverage with a few clicks, manage your insurance on your smartphone. And we want to do this in a very simple but also social and fair way. So we're in this for a few years. We're backed by strong partners like one of the biggest reinsurance companies in the world, Munich Re, but also, of course, venture capital investors such as Early Bird from Germany. Yeah, they back us on our mission to become one of the world's leading digital insurers.
And I believe that you've got this big ambition at Getsafe to build Europe's first mobile AI-powered insurance company for digital natives and do pretty much the same as mobile banks that I think a lot of people listening will be aware of, such as Monzo. But, of course, for insurance. So can you tell me a little bit more about this vision with people listening today and your target market and the kind of problems?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So we see the same trend that happened with banks, which let the challenger banks emerge. That will also happen for insurance. We're very sure and confident about that, although this will happen with a delay of a few years. But the cool thing is about this, because insurance is at heart a very data-driven product, there will be even more innovation possible in our sector. We will not only be able to build a purely digital experience, but we can really reinvent and rebuild the product. So you get more personalized granular coverage. You get a more precise assessment of the actual risk you are facing in life, which will result in much more fair pricing for you, for example. This way, one might argue that the potential for InsurTech is even the bigger one compared to what we saw with banks.
And before we learn more about Getsafe, I think we should probably set our stall out and talk about everything that's wrong with insurance today and what digital natives don't like about it. So can you talk about some of those kind of challenges that are out there, those pain points that you want to remove?
I mean, we started Getsafe really from personal experience. So we were about to finish uni and starting jobs and really saw this outdated experience there. And what we saw is it was not so simple to interact with insurance. So it involved phone calls, a lot of paperwork, forms to fill. Here and there you have to meet agents or brokers. Processes were in general very unclear. So think about buying insurance. I mean, you send some form. Sometimes you don't hear back for some time, then you get a policy out of nowhere. But the same, and especially like the same thing is true for claiming. Something bad happens to you, you have a big accident and you're very worried, and your insurance agent tells you, okay, please fill out this form, send it to this fax number, and you don't hear back for a while, and you don't know how the process goes, what happens, when you can expect to hear back, and so on. So you are pretty much left in the dark, and it's very high friction. So you have to deal with different mediums of communications like phone calls, paper, fax, and so on. Also, another aspect is insurance is normally something very social, but the way that insurance contracts are carried out is very not social. So it's whenever, for example, you move in with your partner or are starting a family, it's always quite some effort to update all your insurance contracts. So when life changes, it's always hard to change insurance accordingly and to make sure that you're properly covered also when starting a family. And finally, it felt very unfair. So pricing is normally very intransparent, especially you pay for coverages you didn't want or didn't even know that they are there. And of course, you also pay a lot of money for intermediaries like brokers who sometimes are just not needed anymore. And these three things, insurance being simple, not so social, and not so fair, played a key role in motivating.
And for any digital natives listening, can you just walk me through a few examples of how you're actually making insurance that little bit easier, more reliable, and more flexible for them, just to help them understand?
Yeah, absolutely. So our customer experience is based on three pillars, basically. So we really try to make it much more simple. So it's the first one. So you can buy, change, and upgrade your insurance in the app instantly. You can file claims and have important documents at your hand anywhere, anytime on your smartphone. Of course, everything just feels a little bit more simple because the processes just go quicker. Customer service is always available instantly. We have a chatbot in our app that helps you sort out the most basic questions. So it feels very straightforward and simple. We also try to make insurance more social. So, for example, we have this feature where you can just share your insurance coverage with your loved ones straight through the app. So it feels more like creating a WhatsApp group and adding someone.
Yeah.
compared to I have to call my insurer and tell them, hey, on this policy, I moved in with my girlfriend. Can you please add her? Or we've got children. What do we need to do? And then they say, okay, please send this form. Then you get a new policy. With us, it's more like adding a member to a WhatsApp group and very straightforward. And also, we want to make insurance more fair. And I think this is a thing that's also very important to digital natives, I think. So technology always revolutionized other industries and cut out middlemen normally. So people pay rather for the insurance, not for the insurance broker. So we operate without insurance brokers. We don't pay any commissions to those brokers. And every exchange and the whole customer experience happens completely between the customer or insurance members, and the insurance company. So there's no unnecessary intermediate step that someone could be charged for. And we see in a lot of different sectors that people really like those kind of companies where middlemen and unnecessary costs and unnecessary processes are cut out.
I love what you're doing here. I really do. But I'm curious, where did this desire to improve insurance come from? I mean, I've got a feeling there's got to be a human story behind this insure tech company.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I talked about being job starters earlier, but there was also this very first moment when one of us two co-founders had a accident ourselves, and as I said, we were just at the end of university studies, and it's one of those situations where you're not sure if this is like something you have to come up, if this is something you have to cover yourself, or if this is covered by some insurance policy of your parents. And in that situation, this was my co-founder Christian, so he destroyed valuable property of someone else, and he really had to cover the very expensive damage on his own because he just didn't know anymore that he didn't know at all that he was not covered for this kind of for this kind of situation. And combined with this job starter experience, where you really have to deal with insurance for the first time on your own. This showed us how outdated this industry is. And of course, seeing all the other industries being revolutionized with digitalization within the last 10, 20 years, it was clear that insurance was lagging behind so much. These were really the early days where we also did not have something like Revolut, Monzo, and 26. So there was no fintech and challenger banks trend to compare to, but it was very clear that something big would happen soon.
And it really did happen quite quickly, because you've already raised $17 million in Series A funding. So can you tell me a little bit more about that funding and essentially how it's helping you progress and move forward too?
Absolutely. The opportunity is very big, and I talked about this in the previous question. The opportunity we saw back then, it pretty much still exists. So although it's a few years later, incumbents haven't moved that much, which is because we think insurance is a very laggy industry. So you have very long-term contracts, so you don't get monetary feedback as quickly as you get in other industries if your product is outdated, right? Because insurance contracts normally just go on and go on. And this caused the incumbents to not feel the pressure as much as incumbents feel pressure in other industries. So this puts us, of course, in a very great position because we are on a great trajectory to disrupt insurance and have great traction already in our home market, moving to close to 100,000 customers. And this, of course, attracted a lot of investor interest, venture capital investor interest. And the great thing about our opportunity is really connected to how we operate. I mean, being an insurtech startup, we solve insurance problems with technology. So this means everything is operated from our technical platform. So we are not restricted because of this to our current home market, Germany, where we have great growth, but our platform allows us to do the very same trick basically in every country. So and this is a fundamental difference to incumbent insurance companies. So they are mostly process, organization, and human driven. So imagine going to a new market. You have to set up completely new operations from scratch. Whereas for us, this just means a process which works a little different. For us, the business is defined in code and is executed in our technical platform. So whenever we launch in a new market, this is more or less like setting up a project team, taking care of regulation, of course, learning about the small details of the new market we want to expand in. Yeah, but it's by far less effort compared to incumbent insurance companies to go global in the end. And we can do all this while maintaining a very lean and centralized headquarter, which gives us a lot of economies of scale in infrastructure and product development. And of course, we can build out a much more sophisticated and personalized insurance experience, because you can just focus and invest on the experience for the customer so much more, because it works the same in any market we will be live in. So this explains why the opportunity we are tackling is so huge and why it is so appreciated by outside investors.
And what about any future expansion plans? I appreciate you probably can't reveal too much, but is there anything you can share about your expansion plans?
Yeah, I can share already the two next markets we are launching. So that will be the UK and Austria within the next months. And of course, we are really fired up to use our platform advantage and to expand further in Europe for now.
And of course, we're now moving into 2020, not only a new year, but a completely new decade. So what's your primary focus going to be next year?
Yeah, so we are really proud about what we achieved in Germany so far. So close to 100,000 customers that are directly engaging with us and are rating us with average stellar 4.8 star rating on the app stores. 30% of them interact with our app every month to, for example, consume content related to where they just stand in life, how we can help and give advice. And we just don't know any other insurance company in the world that can say that. So this is a level of engagement with an insurance product that's unheard of. In 2020, we want to scale that stellar experience even further. And we believe that we have a really strong foundation so we can do exactly that. And the cool thing is, as I said, this experience is defined in code. So it doesn't cost us a penny to deliver it. And we want to export it to the world.
Well, if we have anyone listening anywhere in the world that's already revolutionised their banking with new apps such as Monzo, etc., and now want to do exactly the same with insurance and remove all those friction points, what's the best way they can find out more details, find you online, and also contact your team if they've got any questions? Sure.
You can check out our app in the app stores by searching for Getsafe. You can go, of course, to Google Getsafe and or to our website, hellogetsafe.com. If you have any direct questions, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn if you have any things you want to discuss or ideas. We are a really open company, and we really, of course, are looking for very talented people to join our mission and to make digital insurance a thing in the world.
Anyone that's ever had to put an insurance claim out there would have experienced that, calling a confusing helpline where you have to pick from a long selection of numbers to get the right phone menu. Then you're left on hold for 5 minutes and then told to pick the wrong option anyway. So it's clear that the insurance industry in that sense is very broken. So the fact that you've created this new solution and embracing technology to create something completely different where all those friction points have been removed is fantastic. So I applaud you for that. And more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on and sharing that story with me today.
Thank you very much for having me and being able to share my story. Thank you.
So in a nutshell, Getsafe is using technology to try and reinvent insurance and make it fit for a digital age. And it was great to hear this story outside of Silicon Valley and understand how a company based in Heidelberg, Germany, is using technology and indeed emerging technology such as artificial intelligence to help people identify, organise and protect what they care about most in this life. So within a few clicks, customers can learn about, buy and manage insurance on their smartphone. Simple, social and fair by design. And together with their partners, they're building one of the world's leading digital insurers. And I wish them the best of luck on that journey, especially because they have this radical tech approach and focusing on mobile first, data AI and the user experience. And let's be honest, insurance is not a sexy subject, but insurtech really seems to be making waves at the moment. And like it or not, insurance is a necessary evil that we all have to deal with at some point in our lives. So when we do have to deal with that unsexy subject, maybe it should be pain-free. And enabling customers to buy and manage their insurance coverage in a single app and in real time on their smartphone, and using smart systems such as the chatbot Carla to process a digital claim notification within minutes certainly seems like a step in the right direction. But over to you. Any comments on this insurtech story from Germany? Insurtech in general? Or a question about any of the conversations you've listened to on this podcast over the last few weeks, months, or even years? Simply email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. So keep those messages coming in. But you know what? I think it's time for one of my legendary 20-minute reboots and fall asleep in my armchair like the old man that I'm morphing into. But hey, if those little naps and reboots helps me keep my energy levels up and ensure that the daily podcasts keep coming in, that's all right, isn't it? Isn't it? I don't know, I'm trying to convince you or me there. Hopefully you said yes. So peace and love to you all wherever you listen to this podcast, and come and join me again tomorrow where your refreshed podcast host will return from his reboot/nap and bring you another guest. So a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.